our virtual world. It is Chad here with Kylie, our beautiful, amazing and spectacular nutritionist down in Melbourne, who is, of course, a part of this brand new segment, the Nutrition Kitchen. And Kylie, I believe we have ricocheted ourselves into autumn.
We have. We've made it. Look, this year has flown. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks that, but we've arrived in March, so autumn. 1st of March to, let me look at my notes, the 31st of May. Okay, these months, it's all about, I really wanted to chat to the people out there about the energetics of food, the way we eat, how we're incorporating those slower and more nutritional and grounding options into our diet for those 3 months to really replicate what's happening in nature. Okay, so should we start, Chad? Should we get it going?
We should, definitely. So everybody out there who's new to this segment or who has been following these segments have probably seen a trend that we are picking certain vegetables, fruits, and lifestyle ingredients and plans, talking also about shopping and how to get the best out of choosing healthy. So let's go into it. What are the three, we got one major topic today, but we got some really awesome different plans and cycles that we're going to follow around this particular beautiful, wondrous, lustrous individual. What is it? An apple.
It is. We're gonna chat about the apple. So I've really pulled out, and every month we'll be doing this, I've pulled out 3 topical kind of ingredients that are really in abundance in the month that we're talking about, or the season. So we're going to talk about the apple. First, I'm going to talk about some facts around autumn and how to eat and how to energetically start incorporating things into our diet. So look, everything in autumn is about slowness. You're coming out of those really fast and fun months of summer, and you're slowly walking into, the colder months of winter. This is that intermediate season. Okay, so this season is all about astringent foods and eating more root vegetables in a sense to slow us down and slow our bodies down and how they start to absorb all the foods. You notice in summer, I could bang on about this for ages, but you're eating all the raw foods. You're eating, it's quick, they're fresh, you're picking it from the trees, and it's coming, and they're full of water. Autumn is really about more dense, calorie-rich foods, preparing our bodies for the colder seasons ahead. If we were a bear, we'd be heading into our cave, essentially. And I think one of the big takeaways of autumn is really building our bodies, building our guts, building our bodies, to help with immunity coming into those winter months. And I think now more than ever, with what's happening in the world, immunity is a really, really key concept to take home from this.
Definitely. So I definitely want to talk about nutrition, but I also want to talk about some fun kind of old wives' tales and things around apples and things like that. So apple a day keeps the dentist away, or and also the waxing is that something that does happen to apples. How to clean apples properly, and I guess the other thing is, how many is too many?
That good question. I don't know about you, but I don't know possibly how many apples I could consume in one day. I do love them, but I couldn't see myself eating 20 of them. Although
but if you were juicing them as well, right? So I know that when we talk about fruit these days, and I believe we touched over it on our first one with beetroot and or beetroot, and it was about the consistency of sugar that is in fruit when you are kind of giving it to young bodies, or even to yourself. It's like, wow, how many apples can I eat? Okay, apples are great for me. Let's bang out 20 apples into a juice and then have that 4 times a day because apples are good for you.
And, in talking about what's good for you and how to consume, I think it's not about all or nothing. You really need to be mindful of what you're putting in your body. So moderation is key. Apples are great, but keeping in mind as well that juicing is probably not the best way to consume them.
Right.
Fiber. Yeah, I think fiber is a really a good place to start with this, actually, because fruits, as we know, are really quite high in sugar. So fiber has that way of slowing down the absorption in the body. Nature provides it in a way that we should eat it. So you're not just getting that fast bang hit of sugar, because when you put it through a juicer, all those amazing fibrous parts, they're left behind in the juicer. You're not getting those within the body. And fiber is actually the key when we're talking about immune modulation and gut integrity. Fiber is where the pectin is. So the pectin is found in the apples. It's also high in plums and citrus fruits.
And elaborate on pectin for us.
So pectin, essentially, I'd talk about it as a fiber, and it's one of those things that's found in the skins and in apples. So, all those lovely jams and the jams, they're quite set. They're almost jelly-like. That's the actual pectin out of the fruit.
Right.
That is the pectin that sets it.
Not
so
gelatin.
You can imagine. No, that's not gelatin. No.
Oh.
So for all those avid jam makers at home, the marmalades, that's why they use the skin of the fruit, because that is full of pectin in citrus fruits, and it actually helps set it once you've cooked it out. Be mindful, it's packed full of sugar, so that helps set as well. The pectin is the real setting agent. So the way I like to visualize food is basically, okay, this is the science of cooking it, and basically this is what's happening in my body as well. So it creates that really kind of mucosal, it breaks down in water and then creates a nice little mucosal consistency to really help pull things into your gastrointestinal tract and then help digestion along. So that's what we want. It's all that fiber that's pulling it in and pulling the excess water in and then flushing your system.
Well, that's why I asked, really, because, in the last few years, juicing has become a huge rage. And I'm sure we'll touch on juicing through a lot of our produce throughout our numerous and many different topics. So I guess apples, is there a particular kind of breed of apple that is better for you than others, like red over green or green over red?
Ooh, I don't know if I can answer that. I've never really looked into the research of that. I think it really comes down to where they're grown and how they're grown.
Okay.
When we talk about apples, they're part of the dirty dozen. So the dirty dozen is basically a bunch of fruit and vegetables that are really exposed to high levels of pesticides, and apples are one of them. So the skin is quite porous. So whatever is put on the skin, like the wax that you were talking about before, generally ends up in the fruit. So this is where buying organic is really, really important. I think that there's some products that you can say, okay, I can probably not spend the money on organic because we can't all live that lifestyle. It'd be very expensive. But apples are the ones that I would definitely go to my local farmer's market and buy it in bulk. Buy 20 apples, keep them in the fridge. You can cook them down when they start to go a little bit brown or become tarnished, and eat them when they're not. I'd steer clear of juicing. Juicing's not one of my favorite things to do. I don't think you get a lot of nourishment from it.
And that's the different thing about browning, is you will see an apple browning if you buy it from a farmer's market. If you buy it from a mainstream supermarket, you actually never really see it browning until you basically cut it open. So Kylie, like when you talk about brown apples, I noticed that brown apples they will brown if they are from a farmer's market. But if you buy them from a supermarket, they normally tend to not brown as quickly at all. Now, is that the wax?
How is that? I don't know actually what chemical they use to spray the apples. I do know that a lot of apples are kept in cold storage. So they've actually picked when they're not ripe, and then they're allowed to slowly ripen over a long period of time in that cold storage, because that helps the transport system. So what you're buying at supermarkets isn't always the freshest produce. Farmers markets, you know that they're picking it and then they're taking it straight to the farmers market, because they don't have, you know, the infrastructure to hold it. And as farmers, I think they want to get that produce out to people. They love what they're growing, and I think that's important.
I have a really important question then.
Yeah.
What is the difference between quality and or taste from a ripening off tree, off branch, or off root to sitting in your fridge or on your counter? Do you get a different type of nutrient that actually ripens still while on its living environment? Or because, you know, when something, you know, kind of falls off the tree, you know, it ripens. So why does it ripen on a tree, and yet we take it off to let it ripen in our fridge or our thing? What is the difference?
Good question. I'm going to circle back to what you spoke about before, which is the silic nature of things. So it essentially is that lovely circular motion of nature just moving within. So autumn's the time where things really ripen and then let go and fall off the tree. So look, in terms from a chef's perspective, I don't know from a nutritional profile, but chef's perspective and taste, things that ripen on the vine or on the branch are generally a lot more sweeter and a lot more mature. They taste better, and they've had that extra time, I guess, to really absorb the nutrients from the main body of the tree. I think things that are picked and then put in your fridge to maturate or mature just completely lose what the original fruit was about. The taste profile just gets lost.
So that's my bigger question. So organic really isn't just about the pesticides, it's about flavor.
It's 100% about flavor, and this is such a good experiment to do. You know, during lockdown, we've got some time and the supermarkets are still open and the farmers markets are still open. So go and grab an apple from the supermarket and then just, you know, pop down on a Sunday to a local farmers market and do a little comparison. I've actually got a good story and I'll tell it quickly. I was on a road trip and I actually bought an apple on the road trip from a major supermarket. I bit into the apple and I left it on the dashboard. Don't judge me. I was on a road trip. And it was there, and it actually did not oxidize for hours. And I'm talking hours. There was no brown within the flesh of this apple. And I thought to myself, what the heck is actually going on here? Like, fruit is meant to oxidize when it, you know, things oxidize when they come into contact with oxygen. That's that brown that you get on fruit and vegetables, but nothing, absolutely nothing.
And I always find it amazing that the skin of fruit has so many different makeups that it's basically built already to resist UV and the sun and oxygen and like it already has all these things that can help fruit develop in its best natural way already.
And that's the thing, like
what we're doing is we're only buying more time and kind of suffocating the fruit. Is that, I guess that's why we lose its flavor and its real density of vitamins and nutrients.
We do. For me, I think it comes down to supply chain. We've got a heck of a lot of people to feed in the world or in Australia. And our supply chain is actually really spread out. Like, it is really spread out compared to the rest of the world, compared to Europe, where it's just got to go from point A to point B really quickly. To get our supply and our food right around Australia, that's long haul missions. So, you know, agriculture's found ways to make that more sustainable, and that means picking the fruit early, letting it ripen, basically in a refrigeration unit, and then people receiving it. But in saying that, it's not all bad. I mean, you're still getting some nutrients. They're just not going to be as good as the ones that are grown on a farm. So I'm not saying don't eat apples from supermarkets. If eating fruit and vegetables is better than eating none at all.
No, exactly.
That's my takeaway.
I mean, this will probably be part of your fun facts and your Kylie's facts. But we're not trying to sway any kind of grocery bill or where you consume or purchase your produce from. It's information. That's all it is. And at the end of the day, the information that we're sharing with you guys is always going to tie back to the nutrient and its value. But of course, we need to talk about where our food comes from if we're going to have a realistic view on how nutrients vary from product to product, even though it's still an apple.
100%. Which, Chad,
you
takes
do
me
your
on
facts.
look, Kylie's fun facts, here they are. So the apple, we're going to talk about pectin today and how pectin really supports integrity of the gut. So when we're talking about integrity of the gut is made up of these lovely mucosal linings, and that is really the protector for the whole body. There's a big body of research going into the fact that, everything is connected to the gut, and everything starts in the gut. So supporting that through eating foods that will enhance those mechanical operations, if you'd say, or chemical responses within the body is imperative to good health. So people, eat more apples, get your pectin. Other places